I pull my trigger, there is no rounds coming off my plane. I realize at this point that I unloaded all my gun ammo to be as light as possible. This is definitely not going to end well. Welcome aboard with Plasma 1945. We are rocking this epic F-16 loadout with 4 AIM-120s and 3 tanks. And the reason we've got all these tanks and not that many missiles is because this was an experiment by yours truly that went kind of wrong, because I was going to see how fast I could make this F-16 go and how long it could last in the air. And I was pleasantly surprised despite a whole bunch of mistakes I made. Now, right now I'm rocking Mach 1.6 with 4 AIM-120s and 3 fuel tanks at 36,000 feet. That is an altitude of about 11 kilometers. And there go the wing tanks, leaving me with 1 center tank for fuel. Blasting super fast, still gaining altitude and not slowing down. And now that I've got rid of the tanks, I'm actually speeding up a bit more. The idea here is to see if I can go Mach 1.7, 1.8, and what it'll do for my missile launch capabilities. So looking out from the HUD, I've got an enemy target locked, and I'm going to send an AIM-120 at them at a reasonable range, doing Mach 1.7 here, trying to get as fast and as high to see just what I'm able to do. There's Fox 3, AIM-120, starts a nice loft profile, and reaching out for the target. I believe this target was either an F-15 or an F-18, and as you can see, that pilot's doing some good pilot stuff and evades my first missile. He has launched on me, and I'm going into a defending turn. Now, as you watch my airspeed, that turn was significant, but not such to lose my airspeed. I'm trying to keep it at Mach 1.6 all the way through the turns. One more AIM-120, and just as I shoot that, the enemy missile flies almost right next to my aircraft. My speed definitely made a difference. And I just sent another missile just before that one, so as this one is streaking towards the enemy F-15 that's going into a notching dive, my first missile connects, and this one's going to catch up and smack that aircraft as well. Marshmallow, good effort, but your F-15 is down. So that was one missile that missed the F-18 and took me 2 missiles to take out the F-15. I am well within the Patriot launch area, almost near Kutaisi. I'm about 25-30 miles away from it. Another Fox 3 out on another F-18 down on the deck. I believe that was Alamo, maybe Alamo Thompson. He was cruising around and goes into a notch and notches my Fox 3 missile. Maintaining my speed and going right for the deck, looking for this guy. I'm going to speed this up a little bit. I am so fast at this point, doing Mach 1.4 in a dive as I come right for the deck, trying to get to a safer locations because there are Patriots launching on me and all kinds of terrible things going on. But here I'm really trying to maintain my speed, kind of all over the place, just under Mach here on the deck, looking for targets. Now at this point there's a couple of friendlies and a couple of enemies in the area. Get rid of my center tank. And now we're going to go for a dogfight situation because my last AIM-120 went for the hill and did not splash that enemy. Single F-18 on my nose. He's not paying too much attention. He's in a left-hand turn. I'm trying to slot in behind him. Full gate, full afterburner, try to close the distance. I'm going to go for guns. Really trying to get on his 6. He's not paying attention, and I'm going to go for a lock, and I've got him locked. This should get his attention. I don't know if he realizes how close I am, but I'm all set for guns. This is a perfect range. The guy's flying nice and flat, and there's one problem. I pull my trigger. There is no rounds coming off my plane. Check my master arm. Master arm is set. I'm in air-to-air dogfight mode. There's no rounds coming out of my plane. And at this point, I realized something. I realized at this point that I unloaded all my gun ammo to be as light as possible. There's Patriots launching on me, and I'm on this F-18 6 o'clock. And unfortunately, look at that, he's got 2 AIM-9 still, and I've got no missiles, and I've got no guns. I'm in trouble. At this time, I'm actually talking to a couple of my pilots from RS who are also on the server, and I'm just saying, I'm merged with an F-18. But I've got no ammunition. In this pass, I think the F-18 realizes that he's got a angry Viper on his 6 o'clock and starts doing that pilot stuff that we all like to see. Very hard turns. I'm just subsonic. And yeah, this is me actually blacking out, guys. I'm still maintaining my turn, just on the edge of blacking out. But I gotta stay in the turn. If I fly straight or level, that F-18 will get me. Even if you reverse the turn like he's doing right there, my main goal is to make sure that there is no way that he can get behind me. As long as I'm turning and moving, I'm okay. So I'm out of the blackout, pulling back, coming down to about 300 knots, staying right on the F-18, 6 o'clock. I will use fear and intimidation to take down this guy. Or that's what I'm hoping for anyway. There are some significant power lines underneath me, so this is a bit tricky. F-18 goes for the deck. I'm rolling out above him, not letting an overshoot happen here. I cannot overshoot, pull back. I'm down to 200 knots, going real slow. There's power lines right below me. Going back to full afterburner just to get at any speed I possibly can. I was under 200 knots there. I'm shaking, but the F-16, now without any missiles and no tanks, I'm definitely able to haul. 300 meters above the ground, about 1,000 feet, and now I've regained my energy state. Staying on the inside of this F-18, crosses in front of me. The reason you're not seeing too much of my HUD and cockpit view is because it is quite zoomed out and you won't really get the appreciation of what's going on in the air. Also, I was in VR, so my head was all over the place, so playing that back would have induced all kinds of throwing up for you. But as you can see in the cockpit, just keeping my nose either just a little behind him or ahead of him, depending on where I need to be with my energy. It's all about watching your speed here. Now, I will assume that this F-18 pilot was fairly new because we were doing this two-circle, trying to stay on him, not letting him use his high AOA capability and watching my airspeed. So I'm constantly playing with my afterburner. The F-18 probably by this point started to realize that he had some sort of a mental insane patient on him because this guy is on his 6, not firing any guns or any missiles. I don't know if this F-18 had any friends to tell him that, to spectate and see that I've got no missiles, but all I'm hoping for here is that he is going to hit a power line or a tree. I just cannot let him get on my 6 o'clock for an AIM 9M, maybe an AIM 9X shot. Going to scissors here. As we go into scissors, I'm getting really slow. I pull into a slight vertical. Can't let him overshoot, so he's literally right below me right now. I'm going to jump into that camera. There we go. So he's right below me. He sees me above. He goes into the vertical to get over me, goes over the top. I'm under 200 knots, but I've got afterburner. He is not. His airspeed is dropping. He's probably at 100 knots, and there's no way he can recover from that. Splash 2. First one was an AIM 120 on an F-15. And second was a no guns, no bullets kill on an F-18 in a dogfight situation. I'm not an F-18 flyer in DCS, but from everything that I've seen, an F-18 would have been kicking butt if he was a bit more careful with his energy and wasn't worried about the insane asylum patient on his 6 o'clock who was just chasing him around in circles. Alright, at this point, a couple of guys who were spectating me are all giving me thumbs up, and I'm feeling the love and the support, and it's time to get out of here because my fuel situation is not so good. As you can see, I've already broken bingo at 2,000 pounds. I am a solid 100 miles away from Tbilisi to land, and I've got a whole bunch of enemies taking off right behind me from Kutaisi. So I'm going to use gate to get out of the way here, scoot staying low. The goal here is to survive. There is, I think, 10 minutes left on the server, and I gave myself a challenge to see if I could make it back to base. Come out of gate. My airplane is slick. And keep in mind, I did get up to Mach 1.7, 1.8 in afterburner for a solid 10 minutes earlier, just burning through all my gas. But the 3-tank solution did give me an overall speed of Mach 1.6 during the entire ingress until I got down to the deck. Now it's all about survival. So what I'm doing is I am climbing up, watching my fuel. I've got 1,000 pounds and about 80 miles to go. And I have to get high and hope that nobody gets behind me. Despite what you might have heard, the F-16 is super efficient when you climb up to altitude and if you're not carrying a ton of weapons. I'm pushing up to 30,000, and I think I'm going to settle down to around 38,000 feet as I cruise back down. So that RTB of about 80 miles, it's about 150 kilometers, cost me 400 pounds of fuel. And now I'm coming down. There's only 3 or 4 minutes left in the server, and I'm giving myself a challenge to land at the airbase no matter what. So here we go, a little bit of afterburn to get speed, and then everything goes silent. Because now I've got no gas left in the tank. Alright, it's time for a Deadstick landing. Now, if you look in the bottom right-hand corner, it's just outside of the HUD view, there is a dial that shows how much hydrazine you've got. And what happens in the F-16 is that once your gas is out, unlike a Tomcat, you're still able to generate energy for your HUD, for some basic hydraulics, through the hydrazine tank. That hydrazine tank will last you for about 50 miles of flight. But once hydrazine's out, you're pretty much gone. You won't have any electronics. You'll lose certain aspects of your flight control system, so keep that in mind. But that gauge is at the bottom right hand, just behind your control stick. So I'm coming down a little bit too fast here. Realizing that, I need to bleed off some speed, so I roll slightly left, nose up, getting rid of that speed, roll back down. I've done plenty of Deadstick landings in an Su-27. It's a little bit different in an F-16. But there's my runway. Watching bringing down my gear. Because as soon as you bring your gear down, you are going to lose a lot of your airspeed, and I don't want to plow into the ground. Same thing with the brakes. So I have to be really careful here. There's the tone for the runway beacon. There's the gear. And I'm way too fast. Popping out my air brakes. This is going to be some serious bunny hopping, guys. This is not Quake 3 for those of you who've played Quake 3 or Counter-Strike. I'm so light that I'm just bouncing all over the runway. I'm a UFO here. Just gliding along. There's no way I can brake here. Most important thing is to avoid those lights at the end of the runway. On the grass, just cruising along, brakes out, trying to hammer down my wheel brakes. It's not making much of a difference. Here comes the server stop. I am so close to the wall. I don't want to hit 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 the wall. Oh my gosh. I have not died because the server stopped. Saved by server. Alright everybody. Plasma 1945 out. And hopefully you like this video.